excited to have Marion Ross today. So welcome, Marion. And the moderator today is Lynette Whiteman, Executive Director of Caregiver Volunteers of Central Jersey. Before we begin, I just want to say the information provided is intended for your general knowledge only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. And the information provided during this webinar reflects the opinions of the speakers. I also wanted to tell everyone that this is a joint effort between Friends Health Connection and Caregiver Volunteers of Central Jersey, and we are proud to partner on this. So, Lynette, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Roxanne, and welcome everybody, and especially welcome to you, Marion. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I know it's early for you. It's 9 o'clock in the morning for you, right?
Well, I got up at 6:30. I did a phoner at 6:30 this morning. So
it's the afternoon for you then.
Well, no, it's 9 o'clock, and it's lovely.
Good. So also thank you to Roxanne and Friends Health Connection for this wonderful opportunity and for the great work that you do. So I think everybody knows.
I'm a wonderful subject for your studies because I'm 89, and I'm very, very healthy. Isn't that amazing?
I know. I read that in your book, and I want to talk to you about that a little bit because I was really, really interested in that. So I'm going to pick your brain about that a little bit.
Right.
But I want to introduce you to all the listeners. I'm sure everybody knows you, but I just want to go back for people who don't know everything about you. You were born in Minnesota, and you made your film debut in 1953's Forever Female, starring Ginger Rogers and William Holden. And then after working steadily in movies and television, you became famous, of course, for playing Mrs. C on Happy Days, which aired from 1974 to 1984, and you received 2 Primetime Emmy Award nominations for that. And then since then, you've worked on series such as The Drew Carey Show, Touched by an Angel, Nurse Jackie, and The Middle. You have 2 grown children and 3 grandchildren, and you now live in California. And your new book, which we're really going to talk about today, is My Days, Happy and Otherwise. And your book is available on Amazon and wherever books are sold. So, again, thank you and welcome to this telephone conversation, Marion.
Well, thank you. That's a wonderful recap. You know what you left out? You didn't mention the series that I'm so proud of being in, and it was called Brooklyn Bridge.
Yes, I actually I read a lot about that in your book, and I didn't watch that when it was on, but I saw some episodes on YouTube, and it looks like a really wonderful show, and I loved your accent. You were a Jewish grandmother.
I loved being Jewish,
Yeah, I loved in your book when you said you went to delis and things with Paul to soak up the culture. I have a Jewish grandmother, so you were very good. You really captured that spirit very well.
Well, that meant a great deal to me, and people who, I tell you, we only made about 33 shows, so it wasn't a big hit. But we shot it at Paramount, and it was on CBS, So anyway, I'm proud of that. But I'm proud of, it's a wonderful, the way the Happy Days has held up over the years, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I mean, I told a lot of people I was so proud to be interviewing you today. And so when I told people that I was going to be interviewing you, just this smile came across people's faces and just memories and Mrs. C. And it's like even to this day, it just brings back wonderful memories for people.
It's a pretty nice legacy, isn't it? Heritage.
It's a lovely legacy. Yeah. It really is. So I know in your book you write a lot about your hesitation to write this book, and I believe it was your son Jim and David Laurel who finally convinced you to write it. Are you happy you did? Are you glad that you
I'm so happy I did it. And what David Laurel really did was he just taped me talking. He would get me talking, so that it really has my voice. It's not different from me, because I said to my son, no, I don't want to write a book. I'm not going to write a book. So they sort of tied me up in a chair and made me go start talking.
Yeah. Well, it's a really, really nice book, and it really does. It paints such a picture of your time when you were part of that golden circle at Paramount Pictures.
Yes.
And it sounds like a really, really exciting time, but also really very difficult. You write about feeling like a nobody and having to compare yourself to others.
Well, in the book, I do talk about the fact that here I was under contract. I was a starlet, I guess, and one morning up in makeup and under the hair dryer, and the girl next to me got out of her hair dryer and stood up and up and up and up. And it was Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And she was just my age. And she had just come to film Roman Holiday. I went right out and got 2 candy bars and ate them right away.
Yeah. That was a very relatable moment. I have to tell you that. That was wonderful to read. But as you were going on in your career and you received fame from Happy Days, did you see that sort of look in other actors and actresses that you recognized? That sort of here, like when they were looking at you, like here's somebody and I'm a nobody. Did you ever see that in other people?
Oh, all the time, because all of us actors, this is what we struggle with. You struggle with trying to be out there and be a star. So it's we are the most insecure kind of breed of people. Everybody is pretty hungry.
And you face rejection all the time, I imagine, right?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And did you ever have your limousine moment? Did you ever feel like, did you ever think back on your limousine moment when you weren't recognized, and then did you have a limousine moment after you achieved
Yes, I did.
fame?
In fact, I talked about that in the book. I said they would dress us up at the studio because we were under contract to Paramount, would send us up to Edith Head's wardrobe, and you'd stand on a dais, and they would get an evening gown and put it on you. And inside the evening gown, I remember the one I was wearing, it said Joan Fontaine. I don't know if you remember the actress Joan Fontaine. So it was pretty thrilling. Then they put you in a limousine, they send you to the premiere, and you go down Hollywood Boulevard, and the Klieg lights are striking across the night sky, and the limousine pulls up to Grauman's Chinese, and you step out, and the crowds are screaming and screaming, and then they say, oh, it's nobody.
That sounds awful. That sounds awful. But did you ever pull up later on after you were Mrs. C, and you pulled up in the limousine, and people were then like, oh, it's Mrs. C, it's Marion Ross?
Well, I had so many experiences like that when Happy Days was in the peak and we were running it and everything. We would go and play softball in all the major league fields, and we would play before the major game. We'd play with the media, with the press people, people like you, and so we would go on all these events, and the audiences the people would just scream, and it was just wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, it sounds it. I love.
Well, and especially for Henry, they would really scream for Henry, and then Scott Baio became famous with us too, and but they would say, well, where's the mother? Where's the mother? Oh, okay, there you are. Hello.
Oh, that's nice. I love the picture of you in the book when you're at bat wearing the wedge heels. That's a classic picture. I absolutely love that picture. But you have a very good stance. You look like you were quite the batter there.
I could hit really well. And then what I would do is I would run with my arms way up, because I thought they don't want to hit that fine old lady. So they would overthrow. They would overthrow first base, and I could get on. On. Then the boys could get me in.
Yeah, well, that was a good strategy. That's wonderful. Yeah, I think my favorite part of the book was the tributes that were written to you by your co-stars and Ron Howard and Henry Winkler. They're just so beautiful. Was there anything that somebody wrote that surprised you when you read it? Like, was there something like you didn't even know you had that impact on them?
Not really, because this has been going on so long. It's over 35 years since we stopped filming. So I pretty much heard every kind of comment, and we are fortunately very, very close. Isn't that sweet?
It is. It is.
And Ron Howard just had a birthday party for him and his daughter Bryce, and we all were there. Everybody was there, and it's a pretty unusual bunch of people, I must say.
And what do you think? What do you think? It was just sort of luck that made this. I mean, it's hard work, but the fact that you were also family, because I know it's competitive. I know you write a little bit about some of the competition when Henry Winkler started taking off, but it sounds like such a unique sort of thing. What do you think caused that?
Well, you know why? Why? It's because of Garry Marshall. Garry Marshall, by making that softball team, he pulled us all together to make us a team, and because we did the show live, we were all together all the time. We were together like on film day, well, even on rehearsal. We were all together all the time. Sometimes if you're shooting a one-camera movie, you don't see some of the other actors. You don't get to sit around with them and travel. So because of our softball team, we traveled all over the United States together. And we would, if they would call my room and say, get down here, we're all waiting in the bus. We're waiting for you. Because if we call, we all go together to dinner. We all go together to play ball,
Yeah.
It was a tremendous device.
Yeah, that is. Is it all right if I read what Henry Winkler, there's one really favorite paragraph I have that he wrote about you. It's on page 218.
Sure.
Okay.
I would be curious to hear it again.
Okay, this really stood out for me. I love this. Henry Winkler wrote, one of the great joys of my life has been getting to spend time with Marion, to work with her, laugh with her, and absorb her wisdom. Her light is so bright, you have to wear sunglasses to be around her. Oh, when I read that, can you imagine? I mean, that's just such a lovely thing to say about somebody. Her light is so bright, you have to wear sunglasses to be around her.
Oh,
that's
lovely. That lovely.
And I actually, when I was doing this, I was getting the word out about it, so I tweeted that I was doing the interview with you, and Henry Winkler actually retweeted it, and he wrote back, Marion is one of the great women of the 21st century, wise, gutsy, funny, caring, talented, and strong. And then he put that on Twitter about you. So I didn't think you knew that, but, it's
I don't.
Really,
Isn't that's beautiful? You make me cry. That's lovely.
Good.
That's really lovely.
Yeah.
Really lovely.
So let's talk about, let's shift gears a little bit. So that was a wonderful time for you professionally, but you also talk about some of the struggles that you went through. You said that it debuted January 15th, 1974. You describe yourself as a 46-year-old divorced woman who was the mother of an 11-year-old girl and a teenage son. And so you were really sort of a pioneer working professional woman when there wasn't a lot of attention really being put on this. So how did you manage both of those worlds? I'm sure that must have been hard for you.
Well, a lot of women have had handle the same thing.
Right.
It's amazing to me how many divorced women are working, raising children all by themselves, nobody helping, no alimony, no nothing, and somehow we women, we're stronger than we realize, I guess. I really hoped that my mother was going to come and help me. And she said, "You're going to be just fine, darling. Bye-bye."
Thanks, Mom.
Fine. Okay. Yeah, but you know what? When we were young, we used to rent out rooms. As things got tough, we used to rent out rooms in the house, you know. And I did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you made it. I mean, you did it. You managed it, and somehow, well, I think that's sort of like your whole life. You just sort of, there was a challenge, and you put one foot in front of the other, and you did it. You just made it work. So it just seems to be like part of your makeup that you're able to do that.
I think because my early years was just the end of the Depression, so I had very little as a child, and my brother, who was 18 months younger, was a crippled boy. So I was the middle child. I had an older sister, middle child, so I didn't get too much attention with the crippled brother, right? And so all of that, I think about that a lot. I said, what was it that gave me this big engine? I had this huge desire to become somebody. And sometimes I'll meet somebody and they'll say, "Really? I didn't ever have that."
Yeah.
Did you have that?
Did I have that? I'm not as much as you. I mean, I think I would have been discouraged along the way. You just kept on going. That's what I think was so inspirational about your book. No matter what was happening to you with your marriage or whatever, you just was like, there's one part, I don't have it right here, but you were in a taxi and you were going somewhere and you told the taxi driver that you were going to be an actress. And
I
said,
know
wow,
what
that's
it was.
really...
I was driving to school, to college, and one of, this fellow, I was hitchhiking, this fellow picked me up and he said, "I understand you want to be an actress." I said, "Yes." And he said, "That's kind of hard, isn't it?" And I said, apparently, he told me years later, I said, "Well, yes, I don't know what's going to happen to all the others."
Yeah, you felt sorry for all the others. I thought that was awesome. Yeah. I
didn't doubt this for 1 minute that I was going to do this.
Yeah, what a gift! That's wonderful.
I think it comes from my Canadian mother, because my mother was from Saskatchewan, but she was an immigrant in a way,
Yeah. That's wonderful. You talk also, so I think maybe before you even knew it, you were a pioneer woman and a feminist, and you talk about, I'm not going to give it away, but you do talk about sort of a Me Too experience that you had, and you talk about sticking up for yourself as far as negotiating a raise when you were in the show. What do you think now about what's going on with women in the Time's Up and Me Too and getting equal pay? Are you following what's going on with that?
Yes, very much. And when 50, 60 years ago, I was not in a position to demand anything. So now these women are beginning to come together and getting to have power. It's still early. In the government, we don't have it very much,
right.
But the hidden power inside women that's been there all along is now beginning to find its place. Yeah, when I wanted to get paid, much more like the other people, I was paid so little. And then Ron Howard called me because one day I didn't show up for work. I just didn't show up, and he said, "Marion, they just made an announcement that you're being replaced."
Oh, God.
I said, I'll be right in.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah. So it was. I hadn't made myself indispensable, so I had to wait. For a couple more years.
Right. But you did. I mean, Garry Marshall apparently really went to bat for you, and helped you in that way. And you also talk a lot about the testosterone atmosphere of the writers on Happy Days. Do you think that if there was women writers that were part of that, do you think that Mrs. C would have been written in a different way, or did you ever wish that character was going in a different direction, and maybe you would have?
I would go to Garry Marshall and I'd say, could Tom and I have more scenes? Could we have more importance in this? And he said no, because it's not about you. It's about the boys. Okay. I said, okay, I got it.
Yeah, but do you think if there was let's say there was an equal amount of women writers and men writers at that time, you think things might have been different?
I doubt it, darling. It was the times, and they haven't changed too much. They haven't changed too much politically, and the business world. Women are doing very well executively in the business world, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, a little bit better. I mean, there's still a lot of glass ceilings out there.
Well, yeah. So it's still a boys' club here in Hollywood.
Okay.
So,
all right. So got to keep plugging away then, right?
But it's interesting because not only are we professionals, we're mothers, and we have family to raise, and most of us are married. My marriage didn't survive all this up and down business, but women are pretty extraordinary, aren't they?
Yeah, when I was reading the Effie parts, to myself I was thinking, she got to get out of there. But you really stuck in there a long time.
I stayed like 19 years, stayed married. Yeah, and it was not a good marriage, probably right from the beginning.
Yeah.
But I was a young, foolish girl, Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
And I just think you're such a forgiving person, and you're such a positive person that probably you thought that it was going to turn around.
Well, I had to go to the shrink in order to get tough enough to make a move. I almost had to get permission from somebody because he would say to me, "Don't leave yourself out." I was very used to leaving myself out. Yeah, I had a crippled brother,
Right.
So
right.
Even though inside I had all this drive and ambition, in all my relationships, I would step back, like we women do often.
Yeah, and it seems like you were sort of the caregiver on the set. Like people came to you when there were problems, and you sort of took care of everybody. It seemed like maybe from Gordon, you sort of got that role in your life to be a caregiver for others.
It didn't suit me to be strong and forceful. So it's like you scratch any woman, you see how strong we are underneath, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And now you have your 2 children are grown. You have 3 grandchildren, and you spoil them rotten. You say you write in your book, and I think your daughter Ellen said that you spoil them rotten. And and so tell me, so you're 89 and you're healthy.
Yes.
Is there things that I know at one point you said in your book that you swam a little bit, but is there things now that you do that keep you healthy?
Well, I'm very obviously naturally healthy, and that could change any day now, couldn't it? So I'm very watchful to see, and I do take all my vitamins. I think by being so active, I'm very, and also I don't sit down very much during the day. I'm up and I'm fixing something, and I'm, let's remodel this, and let's, I'm a very busy bee.
Yeah, that's
now,
great.
It all could change, and I'm anticipating change. We work on everything, and we plan things, and we,
Yeah.
We have a great. What we do around here is we wake up in the morning and have a great idea, idea of, and it can be the dumbest thing, but it keeps us, all geared up. So I think it's important.
It is. It's important to keep active and socially connected to people. And I read in your book that you have a little dog. And you have what? Are you a dog lover? What are your pictures with your family?
Yes, yes. That's a very good thing to do. And I've retired from acting because one of the last little shows I did, I kept saying, "What is that line? What is that line?" And they said, "Well, it's very simple." I said, "Yeah, I know, but I've forgotten it. What is it?" So I thought, "Oh boy, here we go. It's getting harder for me."
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I mean, we have. I run a nonprofit organization that helps people to remain in their homes when they don't have family around, and so we're helping people who are over 100 years old who are out and playing poker, and we can never find them at home because they're out with people. And
wonderful!
So you don't necessarily. I mean, I think, and these people, when we talk to them and we say, well, what's your secret? It's doing exactly what you're doing. It's staying active and it's connected with people and learning new things and trying new things. So it seems like you're doing all the right things.
Well, I do. So I try to have a good time and have fun,
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, that's important. Yeah, that's important. And how old are your grandchildren now?
My youngest one is 7 and 8, and then my oldest granddaughter is 27.
Wow.
27.
Wow. And would you want
my daughter
them to go
Ellen, my daughter Ellen was a writer producer on Friends, so she didn't have her children till late. So that's why we have these young children.
Right. And would you want them to go into show business, or would you discourage them?
Well, my daughter is a writer producer for Friends. I mean, she is in show business.
Right.
My son Jim Meskimen, maybe you've seen this commercial that he's just done. He plays George Washington. This is for Geico. He plays George Washington being dragged across the freeway in his boat. Have you seen that one? He's
no. I'll look it up though.
Anyway, and he's George Washington and in this boat being dragged across the freeway.
Okay.
And so my children have certainly followed my footsteps,
Mm-hmm. And did you want them to? Did you try to talk them out of it?
I didn't want them. No, I never encouraged that. They only did that after they came out of college,
Okay. All
and
right.
it seemed, and little did I know that they were thinking about this,
Surprise.
But I'm glad that they weren't young because, our poor little Erin Moran, who we lost and didn't do well at all. So you see, she's a wonderful example of don't put too much pressure on your children.
Right. And it seems like you had a really special
It's not natural. It's not a natural life for a child at all.
Right.
You better be grown up.
Yeah, before you do that. Yeah. Well, again, the name of your book is called My Days, Happy and Otherwise, and I really, it was a really inspiring book to read. I learned so much, and just have to ask you one more question because somebody asked me to ask you this.
Yeah.
Clark Gable. They wanted to know about your time with, and you're very positive in the book. So what was that like to work with Clark Gable?
Oh, I tell you, it's like my mother loved Clark Gable. I love Clark Gable. My daughter loved Clark. I mean, really, what an icon that is. And to be, I was in Teacher's Pet with Clark Gable and Doris Day, and Oh God! So it was Easter time, and I colored egg, and I wrote Mr. loves CG to give it to him. And, so corny. So he said, he said thank you very much, and we had scenes together in the movie, and I said, well. I said, well, what shall I call you? I can't call you Clark Gable. He said, you may not get to call me anything. Teasing me.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I have in my book, guy. I have a wonderful picture with Clark Gable in the book. Yeah.
You do. You look like you're a hugger. Almost every picture of you, you're hugging somebody. Are you a hugger?
If I get a chance. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like you're a hugger. Well, I so appreciate you spending time. I want to end with again your philosophy that you wrote towards the end of your book, and you say that I would say that the only philosophy I have to offer has nothing to do with my age. I believe that the most important thing a person can have in their life is a dream that they never lose sight of, and that they work as hard as they can to achieve it. That's my philosophy today, and it was my philosophy when I was a little girl, one who did just that. What a great philosophy. What a great philosophy.
No, because you carry that inside you, and it's like, it's always there. It's always exciting. It's always, it's pretty childlike, but then we want to keep the child in us alive, right?
Exactly. And I could tell from your voice that you still have a lot of child in you, so it's wonderful. So again,
I've had a wonderful time talking to you. Your name is Roxanne?
No, my name is Lynette Whiteman, and Roxanne is from Friends Health Connection, who arranged for us to talk today. So I was nervous about it, I have to admit, but it was just so I loved your book, and I feel like you're such an inspiration to so many people. So thank you so much for that. And I'll
talk to you when I'm 100. Okay?
Yes. Promise. Promise me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll touch base when you're 100. All right. You have a wonderful day. And, again, just stay healthy and happy.
Thank you, darling. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.